Get started now with our meeting. Welcome everybody. Those of you who don't know me, my name is Tom Sinkwitz and I am the chair of the Board of Finance. Thank you all for coming this evening. This is an excellent turnout, which is exactly what the board wants to see with our meeting. So thank you, thank you. To start off, I would like everybody to please stand. We'd like to start with the pledge.
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first item on our agenda. We'll start with roll calls. Ted Jermaine. Here. Joe Bissett. Here. Don Cabela.
Here.
Vicky Meyer. Travis Irons. Cindy Chester. All right, next item. Acceptance of the minutes from our December 5th, 2017 special meeting.
I have an addition. Ted Jermaine voted no on the $1 million cut. Please record it as such.
Thank you, Ted. Any other additions? All right, seeing none, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the minutes. Is there a second? Second. All right, we have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Minutes accepted. All right, first item under new business. For those of you who might have attended our meeting back in November, we had discussed at that time changing for the meeting time for the Board of Finance. And the meeting time as of that meeting was changed to 6 o'clock starting in 2018. We have had some feedback from not only members of the board since that meeting, also myself, and some members of the public in saying that 6 o'clock can actually be very difficult for a lot of working class citizens, including myself. I do a lot of business travel and sometimes have late conference calls that run very late. And so making a 6 o'clock meeting on time certain parts of the year can be very, very tough, especially when it's just a regular meeting. So some suggestions were made in that instead of going back to our regular time meetings, which has been for 2017, 7 o'clock, starting in 2018, there's been some suggestions put out that we could start at perhaps 6:30, which gives a little more time for working class citizens to make the meeting in attendance. It also helps out some members possibly on our board. So with that said, do we have a motion for consideration for changing the meeting to 6:30?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? Second. Okay, we have a second on the motion. All in favor of this motion for changing the meeting time to 6:30, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Next item on the agenda is an update on our alternate positions. So at the last meeting, there was an error made on my part as chair in the Board of Finance where we have 2 alternate positions that we need to fill. And these positions have to be filled within 30 days of the resignation or expiration of that position. So what we did is we filled 2 positions. One was with alternate Cindy Chester, who's a Republican, filled 1 spot, which that position can be filled by Cindy as a Republican. So our vote and appointment of Cindy for that position still stands and is fine. The other position that we had chosen for was in the position of a Democrat. It was a Democratic position that needs to be filled by a registered Democrat, and the individual who we had selected, Mr. Scott Charlwood, at the time was an unaffiliated. And so at the time when that happened at the last meeting, we filled the position with an unaffiliate, which technically speaking we cannot. It has to be a Democrat. So at this time, we are going to be moving for reconsideration of just that spot that has to be occupied by a Democrat, because we have to make that change again in under 30 days, which technically speaking, it was the position once held by our member, Joe Brissett, who officially resigned from the position on the 29th of November. So we have till the end of this month. So we're still within our time frame to choose for that Democratic position. So we're going to do that. And in the event, just for future notice, if we do not fill it within the 30 days that we have granted to us, then that obligation goes to the Board of Selectmen to fill that alternate position. So because we are still within our time frame, we would like to open the floor right now for nominations for that Democratic seat as an alternate.
I nominate Scott Charlwood.
Okay. And just for the record, Scott Charlwood, I did confirm, is as of today a registered Democrat and is running and would be running as a candidate, as a Democratic candidate for that position. All right, so I have a motion for Scott Charlwood, or rather a nomination. Any other nominations?
Representative Wooten.
Okay, I have a nomination for Roxanne. All right. Any other nominations?
Motion to close nominations?
Okay, I have a motion to close nominations.
Second.
And we have a second. All in favor? All right. Nominations are now closed. So currently I have Scott Charlwood, Democrat, and Roxanne Boise, yeah. So starting with Scott Charlwood.
I vote for Scott. I nominate.
Okay. So we're going to, we have the nomination for Scott Charlwood, so we're going to take a vote. So all in favor for voting Scott Charlwood, Democrat, for the seat as an alternate, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. So now that we have concluded, Scott Charlwood is officially now selected for that alternate position as a Democrat, but is not a member until he gets sworn in by our town clerk. So that will need to be done as soon as possible. Scott, congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to our next item, Municipal Stabilization Grant. A number of people have asked the board in regards to the Municipal Stabilization Grant because many had heard of it, but were curious as to how much money the town got because with the governor's cuts, it was possible that there was going to be a slashing to it, which there was. But it was still a question to many citizens in town as far as how much of that grant did the town get and how exactly can it be utilized, because some people had mixed answers and weren't quite 100% sure. So I just wanted to mention that on the agenda, and I just wanted to confirm with Kelly, who I've been working with very closely, if you could just mention from our correspondence and clarify for everyone here on that stabilization grant.
All right, we received the Municipal Stabilization Grant December 2nd for $343,453. What we were budgeted was $372,869. So we did receive the funds. It's sitting in our cash account right now. It has not been used for any purpose.
Kelly. Any other discussion from the members of the board on the stabilization grant?
How are we gonna utilize it? I suggest we give that over to the school department, due to lack of funds from the state, so they don't have to cut quite as much as they did before. And that amount of $243,453. That would be removed from the $1 million cut that was made earlier by the board of finance.
Okay.
What's the bottom line, what we have to end up with, putting in the school board, or give it back?
What is our bottom line?
Okay. Do you want summer consent or something?
Yep, we can do that, certainly. I will now call on our Senator, Heather Summers, who is with us. If she could just give us a brief update on that.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
That's okay.
What was the question?
So the question was, Don, you were asking for the amount?
Yeah, what's the bottom line that we're gonna end up not getting? So,
Right.
what we were, that's what we were saying.
I still can't hear you, I'm sorry.
Okay.
The bottom line is we're gonna get from the state now. Is there a final number?
I wish I had a crystal ball, I do not. I can only tell you what you have so far. Your stabilization grant, you can use for anything. It's your choice. We will be going back into session, hopefully by the 5th of January, to take care of the Medicare savings issue. That's a $50 million really transfer of money, but we are looking at a deficit that we have right now. We anticipate that deficit to, which is myself and the two reps that are sitting with me, along with the entire legislature, has made it very clear to the governor that if there are cuts to be made, that we want to keep municipalities and school districts held harmless as much as possible. We have provided the governor with a list of areas that could be cut or consolidated, and I'll give you some examples. Looking at getting rid of the high dollar salaries in the executive branch, combining commissions, looking at things that any other business would do in times of fiscal constraint. He has chosen to not choose that path, and he has chosen to look at municipalities and education as the place that he would like to go back. So we will be continuing to have this conversation as we go forward and go back into session to try to close the gap that will be what we're seeing and anticipating. So I cannot tell you right now. The final number is the number you have now, right now, but it is a moving target.
Thank you, Senator. All right, any other discussion on that item from members of the board? All right, thank you for that clarification, because again, that was something that a number of citizens were unsure about, so we wanted to make sure that that was understood.
What is the exact number again?
What was the exact number that, so they-
What is the exact number that the school needs right now?
$1,032,814.
What do we have to be to hit the MBR?
$768,282. That's the.
So if we give this to school, what's gonna be the difference? That somebody still has to find a way to work.
we'll be fine if we gave it.
Can you repeat that, Laura? Can you speak up so we can hear you more from the board, please?
Yep. So the amount of the grant.
The amount of the grant was $343,453.
Say that again, say it louder, Ted, so.
We've given the 343, 453 to the school fund.
That would be a motion made.
Right. Right, has to be a motion, so. Do we have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to give the school department 343, 453, however worded we have.
Could I speak?
Yes.
My concern is returning that $343,453 to the school, that the state is already, that's municipal money, and I know that we can use that money for whatever we need to, but I just want everybody to understand that if we give that money to the school, then that means the town is gonna, we're not gonna be able to pave, we're not gonna be able to do the projects that already we are planned to do. And when we get cut back, that means we're gonna be taking money out of our general fund to keep the town running. So I just want you to understand that it's not easy for us to just say, give the school that money, because it's gonna put the town in a very difficult position. So I just want you to think about that.
How much do you have in that rainy day fund that the town has?
Please. I think I might be able to help you with that, Kathy. Year 13, 14, 15, and 16, our tax collector informs me that we collected 97, 97, 96, and 97% of what was owed, which is pretty normal. Now, in addition to that, because of taxes that were in arrears or tax sales and penalties, that 97, 97, 96, 97 goes to 100, 100, 1.01, and 100. That extra 3% puts $750,000 into our fund balance. Now, we've done this for these 4 years. I'm not too good at math, but 750 times 4 years. And that looks like to continue. It will do no harm whatsoever to the town side of the budget, none whatsoever. We'll still be able to maintain a 12% and still have this money left over.
But if we get cut back, Ted, from the state, where are we gonna get that money from? We've already,
You'll have 14% in the fund balance, you'll take 2% out of the fund balance.
and we've already talked about the money in that fund balance. If we get cut back, and Kelly, you can confirm this, how long is that fund balance going to last us to maintain the town, just the town, with payroll and the town's expenses?
Well, if we're gonna, right now, unreserved is $7 million we have in here. We already deducted $1 million, so that's $6 million. If we get all the state revenue, that's great. If not, we will be deducting more. So it's about, you're gonna look at 5-6 weeks. You'll have money in your reserve to hold if there's ever an executive session.
And my concern with that is, if the state cuts back to school again next year, how are we going to be able, the town, fund the school? Where are we going to get the money to keep giving to the school?
I can't predict the future, but I know what's happening now.
But we have to look
We are
into
in a
the
critical
future.
situation. When we start cutting out the programs, I'm looking at, cutting out education, you're getting way behind. In education, if you don't go ahead, if you stay even, you're actually going behind. You can't. do
Ted,
that.
I agree with you about education, but I believe that there may be other areas that could be cut that doesn't affect just the education.
I tried
You
that, I
know,
won't cut.
Senator Summers just made a comment that they have a bill that they've asked executives to cut, and the governor doesn't want to do that. Maybe that's what the town needs to start doing, and maybe that's what the school board needs to start doing. Start cutting from the executives. just like Senator Summers said, if you run a business, that's where you start. It can't always fall back on the town.
Well, basically it does, because the town people are paid for the town to operate. So whether we give the money to the school or the town uses it later, it's still the same issue. It comes from the town. The town's going to pay the taxes.
Rather than deplete our funds at $343,000, I would recommend to the finance board, pay the rest out of the fund balance, give them back, give them more money out of the fund balance. Why try to take it away from, I'm gonna just use the word us, the town, the municipal town. Why take it away from us and endanger us from not being able to pay our bills? Then we'd have to go to the fund balance. Let's do it all one time. Take it from the fund balance and give it to them and let them do that. But I do like what Senator Summers said. Stop with the executives. Stop cutting.
Well, let's put the school board on notice. Board of Education, as far as I'm concerned, is on notice. You heard what the town wants. Helping the Board of Finance, you have to help yourselves.
But I think there should be a hard freeze on school spending and on the town for the rest of the year. We're in trouble. And like you said, if anything goes wrong, we're in trouble. We'll have to take it from the fund balance. So there should be a hard freeze on both sides, as far as I'm concerned.
One person I wanted to give an opportunity, I'm not sure if he has anything he would like to mention, but give him this opportunity to speak on this topic, is our superintendent. If he has anything he would like to mention on this. I've been in contact with him back and forth. He's been very forthcoming with information to me and the board thus far, so if he is present, I would like the opportunity. Give him the floor.
Thank you. I can tell you that if you can find it in your finances to make that kind of adjustment, you have the list of the cuts that were already made that show good faith. You know the ones that people are concerned about, and it certainly would offset some of the more harsh cuts that we've been trying to avoid. I can only tell you that, in all honesty, the Board of Education, when they met, clearly said from the beginning, if we can get through this year, we will adjust for July 1st. We can raise our class size. We can look at everything that we need to do so that we start the year and everybody's informed. Changing in the middle of the year is hardship for every family. To ask people to go from having a program where it's not going to exist, or tell students in the spring that we can't have a sport, or to tell children that are going to come in later in the day because that could save some money, is not the right thing to be doing. And I can only tell you that the board has been absolutely consistent in its conversation about, we understand the challenge ahead. If we right now function on 35.5 million, and we're looking at the fact that there needs to be $1 million, whether it comes out of fund balance to stabilization or whatever, we know we have to begin at 34.5. We need to start $1 million less. That's the beginning. And we have to think what else we can be doing to consolidate. They're willing to look at everything for July 1st. They're only asking for the support to get to June 30th, so you can tell the students and the families that's what they wanted, that's what they expected. Let us prove that we can work together, which we are. We are working very hard with the town, and we will get to July 1st, and we'll come up with a better budget, as you're asking for.
Thank you.
Yes.
What do you need to get to the end of the year?
The number you offer is great, because it takes away, if you look at the last 400,000, we still will cut the additional monies we have. But I also know you need money, so whatever you decide.
So what is the number you need? Is it you would cut the 600,000? What was the first number you cut?
We cut the 600,000. That was the things that we thought we could educate the public and understand that we had to cut.
All right, so if you get 400,000, you'll be all right?
Your education system will be strong. It will remain strong with that. But I gotta tell you, in all fairness, if you're doing 343, please don't extend yourself beyond that. I think that we can guarantee that we will live within that budget. I don't want to see you extend further than you're already doing it. You're making some big sacrifices on your part. We're making sacrifices. but we'd like to tell all the families that we have worked with this with you, not against you. We're not here to fight. It's all the same taxpayers' money.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion from our members of the board?
We could take that 340 then out of the fund balance for school, and we'd be over one with the other grant money for the counseling. Yeah.
Don, can you just repeat that again? Speak up also. Make sure we're heard.
We can leave that, the stabilization grant back for the town side. Then take another 340 out of the fund balance for the school. We'll find that one, so to speak.
All right, so suggestion coming from the fund balance as opposed to the grant.
Well, I think if the town's short, we could address that later in the year.
Yeah, we do that every day. I'm more inclined to give the 343 to the school department. I'm with it.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to get $343,453,000 to the school department from the stabilization fund.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor to give the $453,000 to school.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second on that motion. This time, I will now call for a vote. All those in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, the ayes have it. All right. Our last item on the agenda before going into citizens' participation is the cost cutting, which I know we've already talked about, and of course, I'm very thankful that our superintendent was able to make it tonight and give us that quick update. Wanted to just put this on for anybody else, any other members of the board who are interested in discussing anything else that we might not have covered when discussing the stabilization grant.
Does the selectman's office have a hiring freeze?
We do not have a hiring freeze right now because we are in need of
Do
a
you have
couple of
material
staff.
freeze?
I'm sorry,
Do you have
what?
any materials freeze?
We have been very limited on what we've been purchasing, Ted, for.
But you have a freeze.
We do not have a freeze right now, no.
You don't have a freeze on materials or...
But you cannot put a freeze on hiring, Ted, when you're putting people's lives in danger. Right now, our highway department is riding with one-man crews in their trucks on snowstorms. That is not a safe situation. We are working with limited staff in every one of our departments. And right now, I've only been in office for 3 weeks, and I'm reviewing all the staff, all their policies, the hours. So you cannot put a freeze on when it's going to jeopardize someone.
Are
You
doing
cannot
time
put a dollar
studies?
value on that. I'm sorry, what?
Are you going to do a time study?
Yes.
When is that going to be?
Well, right now, Ted, with me being out and only being here a couple hours a day after the new year, once I'm back in full force.
Is it possible to get out to some roads, some of the roads in the town?
For plowing, we've already done that. We already have a company that we put out to bid and they help us.
How many guys in the highway department?
We have 9 highway department guys.
Any other questions or comments or discussion from the members of the board on cost cutting?
Yes. I just want to make a statement as one of the selectmen.
Yep.
I'm going to be the acting selectman from the 22nd on till the 29th or a little bit after that. I don't know yet. But I think you guys made a fatal mistake tonight in just taking away the stabilization grant. I made a statement a little while ago, you should have taken it from the fund balance, because you're really gonna put us in a bad spot. And we're gonna be in a bad spot now until June 31st, or 30th, whatever it is, until the next coming year. And I'm gonna say this, okay, without any, it's on your shoulders, okay? Each one of you that voted for this, it's going to come back on you, all right? That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, thank you. All right, if there's no other discussion from our members on that topic, now going to move on to the final item before adjournment, which is citizen participation. Two things I wanted to note about citizens participation here is, especially in an evening like this, I know we have a lot of people here. There is a time limit. We're doing a 2-minute time limit if there's anybody with comments, anything they'd like to say. And remember that it needs to pertain to things that we discussed tonight that are specifically on the agenda. So if you're looking for obviously an opportunity to talk about something that has nothing to do with Board of Finance or nothing to do with what's on our agenda, please refrain from that. We need to stick to the agenda, and please stick to your time limit, so that way if there's anybody else during citizen participation, they too may be heard, because we definitely want to hear from anyone, especially if they're present this evening. So at this time, I am moving on to citizen participation, and we'll open the floor. All right, first up. Yeah, please stand and introduce yourself, just in case anyone doesn't know you.
Hi, my name is Renee Topper. I'm from Central Village, and this wasn't part of what I was going to say initially, but thank you for agreeing to give that back to the Education Department. I am glad that that's on your shoulders. While I don't understand the municipality portion of it, I do understand parts of the education. I have 3 children who've been educated and are being in this town. My oldest just graduated, she's in college, my son goes to Ellis, and my youngest happens to be a child receiving special education services. What you've done tonight will hopefully help ensure that what she is going to be is a productive member of society. Our children have the right to be educated and have the resources that we do have available in our school departments. We're not cutting from the top down from what I see. Again, I don't sit on these boards, but when you're cutting paraprofessionals who are so needed in classrooms, and you're cutting or not replacing speech pathologists, or you're not replacing positions because you've been mandated by the Board of Finance to cut, a certain amount, that impacts not only my child, but other children. I'm fortunate enough to sit on different collaboratives and be part of making a change. I've spoken with my legislators. I know that Ann can attest to, we've had meetings together, not only on this, but on other things. I know change can happen. Wonderland at Lions Park did not happen with any municipality money. That happened with an idea. My counterpart is sitting here. We saw a need and we made it happen. Education, I saw a need for my daughter to receive a communication device. For those that don't know what it is, that's how she talks. She goes into a store, she doesn't have the verbal language to be speaking, so she uses a computer. As a parent, I took the initiative to explore different ways so that it would not have to come from the educational budget. My insurance covered the full $6,500 for a communication device, so she can access her education and speak to you all in the public. To say, I like you or you hurt me, that's a basic human right. It's a civil right. So those aren't being taken into account in a special education budget, exactly what these kids need. Some look at them as a high level of need. I look at them as future taxpayers who deserve to have employment, and if we don't start and we keep making these cuts now, it's not going to happen. I have empowered other parents to explore their resources too by using their, their insurance or different ways to be creative. Talking to my education leaders, how can we get a training that not would only benefit our staff but other towns? Let's do some cost sharing. So if I, as a citizen, can do that, I think we all as a town can. And thank you for my time.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, going once.
Back here.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi. So I would, first of all, like to thank the town for allowing me to voice my opinion as well as the opinion of the many people that stand behind me in my position. My name is Cooper Wade. I'm a senior at the Plainfield High School. I am in the National Honor Society. I play baseball. I sit on the student council, as well as many other extraneous activities through over the years. I'm not going to present to you as if I can begin to comprehend the numbers and the entirety of the economic situation that we're facing. However, I can certainly comprehend the notion that there are the right people in the position to find a solution to the tough situation that seems to have fell into the lap of the town's people. Now, the justification for giving the money to the school and programs, hearing the news that some of the programs that I have been involved in and some of the programs that kids look forward to every day going to school almost broke my heart, but not just for me, but for the people of the school and for the people that are so involved and invested in these programs. And I think that I felt it compelling and necessary to compose some of the reasons from the perspective of a student that the ripples of cutting any after-school programs are far more detrimental than anyone should be willing to consider for the sake of the town. Attendance and grades would just really plummet during the spring season. There are many people, I know many people that said, I keep my grades up for the sport that I play or for the club that I'm involved in, and I go to school for that reason. And after school, teachers become role models. I have personally found role models in teachers that I have had the fortunate opportunity to work with in after-school programs such as debate, such as baseball, and some kids don't have that strong leadership at home and need someone there for them, and these teachers can be role models. And it creates structure and creativity that kids may not be able to find outside of school, as well as giving them something to look forward to. And according, thank you, to the United States Department of Justice, juvenile crime rates are highest between 2, 3, and 4 p.m. It's keeping kids off the streets, keeping kids from making bad decisions that would lead them a place they don't want to go. It is good for the future of the town. I understand that there are other things the town needs to worry about, but this justification, in my opinion, that the Board of Finance has been generous enough to allow these programs to hopefully keep thriving in the way that they are going to, it helps so much bigger than me, so much bigger than the baseball team, so much bigger than any individual in the school, any individual club. It's about everything. It really would affect seniors if we didn't get to play a sport that could potentially get us a scholarship and move on to the next level. I'm hoping to play baseball at the next level, and that's something that would affect me. And kids choosing Plainfield High School as their high school as opposed to Ellis or Killingly, this would affect the way we set a precedent. So I would like to thank the Board of Finance for the decision tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We always definitely like hearing from a current student in our school system, so thank you. Anyone else while we are in citizen participation? Yes, sir.
My name is Dan Buchanan. This is more like a question that I want to understand. The money that was allocated to the school system, that's coming from the grant, correct? Now, were they going to get the same amount of money from the fund? The first selectmen were sitting there making a thing where they should say, correct me if I'm wrong, that they should get the money from the fund instead. So I'm not good on the finances of that. What makes the difference in putting the town in jeopardy, getting the grant, than taking it from the fund? If it's the same amount of money, I'm not understanding what's all that about.
I can give you a personal answer.
Sure, any answer is good.
I don't see the difference.
Thank you.
If the selectmen's area run into trouble, we're gonna go into the fund balance. It's done on a daily basis. There's no problem.
I would, Kelly, maybe, Ted, that's not a true statement. We do not use our general fund balance to pay our town's bills. So that is a false statement.
We
And
borrow money
Kelly,
from the fund balance.
Kelly, maybe you.
Not for operating expenses, we don't. Not for the town, like for capital purchases
Right.
and stuff like that, we do that, not for operating expenses. No. We would have to.
Why would that make a difference?
Because then next year you'd have a hole. So like say I borrowed 100,000 one year, that you're gonna have that again next year, but it'll compound. So it'll just get bigger and bigger. So if you try to not do that.
And the problem,
Yeah.
the problem.
Yep.
So, for clarification to the question, it's a really good one. You know, being a former first selectman, I kind of understand MDR pretty well. And it reflects your next year's requirements, right, through MDR. So, to answer your question clearly, if you took your money and you dropped it, if you don't take it from your fund, if you take it from your fund balance, that includes now next year's MDR, you're gonna have to go to that rise, right? So it's $300,000+.
What does that acronym mean?
So,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, but that's really what it comes down to. You're getting a grant from the state versus coming out of your reserve fund. So every year you go to reserve fund, what happens? Your reserve fund dwindles each year, right? So that's sort of the difference in, I think, why I'm not giving an opinion, because maybe I need a vote someday, so I'll stay by partisan. But that's sort of the reality of that part.
Yes,
You guys understand?
Yes.
what I'm saying?
thank you.
Thank you.
Can you just clarify what that
How do you not to talk?
for us that don't
No, but that's clarification.
Thank you. I know there's some of us that don't understand the acronym, so.
All right, thank you, Representative Skulczyck. Anyone else from our audience here? Yes, sir. Yeah.
Why don't that fund balance go up interest? I know it don't.
It does.
It does,
It does,
sir.
yeah, it does.
Does it draw 12%?
I don't think 12% yet. I don't think 12% yet. But it is rising, it really is, yes. You're welcome.
Christy Haskell, Chair of the Plainfield Board of Education. I just want to express my gratitude as the chair and a parent of Plainfield students for giving that money. It will make a difference. Watching at our last Board of Education meeting what these cuts were doing, we had a student representative that actually shed tears at that meeting to hear from teachers, to hear from parents, the communications that I've received from unions, from parents, from teachers, just saying what these cuts would do and begging us not to make cuts. It really shows, thank you, it shows good faith. We promise as a board to take this under advisement when we sit down for our budget. We take it very seriously. We're going to continue with the hard freezes. We're going to continue to monitor everything very carefully. And I want to stress that we will be looking at going forward in the next budget to work carefully with our administration to sit down as a board. And for communication, we will be happy to invite the Board of Finance to those meetings. We know we're in a crisis. We know we're in a financial crisis. We were on the phone with Senator Summers today trying to do everything that we could to understand this situation going forward. So I thank you again.
Thank you, Christy.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
may I address the superintendent
Yep.
on all of this? Mr. Superintendent, did you stay within your budget last year, or did you overextend it?
We had one bill that extended into July, and it's over budget.
Okay. Now, you made a statement tonight that you're going to stay within budget this year. How can you say that when you went over budget last year?
Well, first of all, since we're starting $600,000 lower, we can't possibly overextend the budget. And we had a discussion with the finance department, and we looked at 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. And in all of those years, we underextended our appropriation by over $250,000. Last year, you're right, we had one overage. If you remember what happened, going into that year, we were asked to cut back $300,000, and we did. We came back and said, we have extensive special education placements, We knew we were running short, and because we had so many placements, even though we ran short by 175,000, which we did, the town received 140, 168,000 in special ed excess aid that came to them in a grant. So one didn't wash the other, but it really was pretty much an offset. That is the truth. We overspent, and that was my error, and I accept that. But out of 7 years, we've underexpended by over $1 million.
That wasn't an accusation.
No, I just want you to know the reason we...
All I was saying is, you said this year you're not gonna go over budget.
We can't.
Well, we'll see, because you're getting all kind of money now, and you're gonna have to prove yourself soon.
All right, anyone else for citizen participation? Yes, in the back.
All right, hello everybody. My name is Shandor Eric Larange. I'm a former student of Plainfield High School. I now attend Fordham University in New York City. I'm a pre-law student on track to attend Fordham Law. So what I'd like to talk about is my experience with Plainfield High School and how the decisions that you've made tonight actually affect things going forward. I participated in a number of extracurricular activities throughout my high school career. I was on the student council, I was on the debate team in high school, I'm now in the Fordham Debate Society. I participated in community service via the NHS, which I still continue to do. And I'm now a part-time teacher in civics, which I owe entirely to the best teacher in the district, Lisa Bastian. I'm a member of the SE 1199 Union. I have 5 other siblings who attended Plainfield High School, and I came back from New York City just as this was all unfolding. So what I'd like to talk about is how this problem came about and the thing that you're all overlooking, because you're talking about a budget, you're talking about cutting this or that, but what you're actually talking about is all of us, because we're not just numbers on your clipboard, we're real people. And we're not just real people out in the world, we're real people who might want to come back and live in Plainfield one day. Except right now, why would I be particularly inclined to? When year after year, it's us that's getting cut. Why would I raise my kids in a town where the schools are at the bottom of the agenda when it's the thing that nobody seems to care about, when it's the thing that affected me most? Because I can go out on the road in the wintertime, but that's not going to erase 4 years of me being in the Plainfield school system, getting a good education that enabled me to go to a good school now where I'm hoping to set up a successful future for myself. So the cuts that luckily don't have to be made now, just because they're not an issue at the moment, doesn't mean that there's not an ideological problem in Plainfield. That this just keeps on happening and happening, that we get to a point like this and it's even on the table. When you're thinking about cutting the kids, what you're actually thinking about is cutting down Plainfield's population year after year. Because I can guarantee you that myself and plenty of my peers look at this and it's the exact kind of thing that makes us say, you know what, I don't want to raise my kids in a place like Plainfield where education isn't something they value. So I thank you for the education that you gave me, and I thank you for not cutting so much tonight, but I'd like you to continue as you go forward to not think that you made a fatal mistake, as the third selectman said, but actually to think that you're protecting the only thing that is your future, which is whether or not people are going to stay here and pay taxes, or whether or not Plainfield will be the next ghost town along the river. Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
I do believe that we should hear from Senator Summers in regards to this as well, if she'd be willing to speak.
She is willing?
Okay. By the way, my son just graduated from Fordham. Great school in Lincoln Center. The most beautiful place in New York City that he will never be able to afford to live in ever again. I just wanted to come and clarify a few things on the MBR, because I know there's been a lot of confusion. There's been emails that have gone around, and the legislative intent this session was to allow municipalities to reduce their education budget by the amount that you were reduced, and under the appropriated budget. MBR stands for the minimum budget requirement, in case everybody doesn't know what that means. And that means you can't spend less this year than you did last year on your education. So this year, you had a reduction based on the fact that the pool of education was smaller than it was the previous year. So that is the amount that you are allowed to reduce your school budget by. There is some confusion. I've seen some numbers running around about, the governor's holdbacks. From what we're being told legislatively, it all has to do with what's appropriated, and appropriations under the MBR are done by the legislature, not the governor. The governors are considered holdbacks, and those are two separate issues. I know you did receive a letter from, or an email from somebody in the State Department of Education. I spoke with the CFO, who's also, I guess, the vice Commissioner of Education. She had no idea about that email being sent. So I would not take that email as the letter of the law. In fact, the person who sent it now retracted the information that they sent to you. So to be safe, that would be the maximum reduction that could be made this year in the education budget. I just wanted to clarify that in case anybody had some questions. Looks like they're all good. Yes, ma'am.
Could you just clarify the exact amount?
You were gonna ask me that. It's like $750.
It's whatever the 5% is, by general
I have it
statute,
somewhere, but I.
10,262.
It's 5%.
They've more than covered it now, so they're well within the range.
Yes, I just want everyone to know that here, because I know there's different people thinking different things, but you're only allowed to believe what we are being told here. We have a 2-year budget, so. It's 2 years.
Yeah, but he can't do a holdback if we're in a big deficit, he can't do anything again?
Well, I will know that, but he won't. He'll be.
Thank you, Senator. Any other questions for Senator Summers? All right, thank you again. Also, just while we're after giving Senator Summers an opportunity, if Representative Skulczyck or Representative Dauphanais, if there's anything that you wanted to mention that you did not get a chance to?
I mean, I would just reiterate what both Representative Skulczyck and Senator Summers said. We do try to make ourselves available at town hall, and we are a phone number, and please reach out to us if we can answer any other questions or give you any information.
Thank you very much. Anyone else for citizen participation?
I got a quick question.
Yeah.
At the end of the year, if by chance the education has any extra money, what do you do with that? Do you have to spend it on something, or are you allowed to like put it into a special fund?
We have for 6 years, always given it back.
We know. So you're allowed to use it?
No, they give
it back.
We just give it back to general fund. We just don't spend it every year.
You give it back to the general fund?
Yes.
All right.
But clearly, just because you need to understand, the town works very hard, and they get hit by the state sometimes getting under budgeted on revenue. So even though we're not expending the appropriation and give money back, that doesn't mean they don't lose ground when the state cuts. For example, one example was we used to get $498,000 in transportation. In 1 year, they cut it in half. The next year, they eliminated it. So they lost that on their revenue side, and it was only made up by the fact that there might have been a higher tax bills or whatever that had offset that cost. So just understand that the appropriation is what the people allow us to spend, and we have for 6 out of 7 years spent less. And that money goes back to the town. But there are many other expenses that you need to understand of the town that they're trying to wrestle with. It's not an easy job. We do try to work very hard with everyone.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you have the extra money that you're budgeting for this year, if you put it into a special education fund, we can use it. If
That's not the process right
Thank you for that. Yes?
Yes, my name is Naomi Smith. I live in Plainfield. I'm wondering, given light of what Kevin Skulczyck had to say about the 342 going back to the school, now that the board is a little bit more clear of how this could affect us versus coming from the municipality grant or coming from the general fund, don't you think it would be in your best interest to reconsider and take it from the fund so that we don't run into a situation where we're going to have to offset later on? If I'm understanding what you said correctly?
It's the opposite.
It's the opposite.
It's the opposite? Okay, then I'm sorry, I understood it the other way around.
I speak almost as fast as a Fordham student.
All right, anyone else? Yes.
First off, thanks for voting me in the second time. Just a couple of things that, of note is you did the right thing. Voting, putting the money back in is the right thing. If you remember at the last Board of Finance meeting, I'm the one who brought up the grant and everybody looked at me and went, what money? So this is money that nobody knew about, okay? So we can argue about that all you want. And the other thing is there's other things in the budget that, for the town that maybe they're not gonna use. The vac hall chipper, Kathy, you said during the debate, you weren't gonna spend that $80,000. So that $80,000 can be used for something else in the town. I would strongly suggest that the Board of Ed shows up to every Board of Finance meeting and gives a report on where they stand. And I think also all the department heads in town should also do the same thing. At my job, I have to go up and stand in front of my boss and all my peers every month. And I have to tell them, am I making budget? Am I not making budget? I think we should do that with the department heads, and I think the Board of Ed should also have to show up at every meeting. And I guess the last question is how many plows do we have in the town?
We have 6 large and we have 3 small.
All right, I was just curious. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else for citizens participation? Yes, sir?
Hello, I'm Matt Ray, sitting on the Board of Education. So just to speak to the Board of Finance quickly, I have a question, just to make sure I'm doing my math correctly here. In total, we're looking at $2,032,814 being reduced out of the fiscal 18 school year budget. The Board of Finance appropriated $1 million out of the general fund to that deficit that we face. So that brought it down to $1,032,814. Board of Ed moved to cut $614,571 last week, which brought us down to needing $418,243 left to fill that $1 million you guys were looking for. Am I correct so far? Yes. All right, so you moved to use the Municipal Stabilization Grant worth $343,453 to the Board of Ed budget. So I'm assuming that is also going to stop at that $1 million that was sought from the Board of Ed's budget, which means that there is still $74,790 that the Board of Finance is looking for from the Board of Ed in terms of cuts. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Going once? Going twice? All right, at this time, I will conclude and close citizens' participation. Next up, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. I'll make it. Okay, we have a motion. We have a second? Second. All in favor? All right. Thank you. Happy holidays, everyone.
So we'll find out what he said.
That happens. It's one of those moments, I know. He speaks loud. He speaks up.